Never expected after the 2020 election where Trump won in our county, and I knew there were anomalies across the country, but I never thought they happened in my town. And so I believed I drank the Kool-Aid of the Colorado Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, and all the Colorado County Clerk Association directors whose wife has worked for Dominion for over 2 decades. I believe we were the gold standard until the April 6, 2021 election. And I pulled those election results and I said, there's no way these people won.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Warriors, I have a shocking interview. This is an official shocking interview of a Tina Peters, who served as the county clerk of Mesa County, Colorado from 2019 to 2023. And guess what, Warriors? In 2021, she was suspended by the Colorado Secretary of State as it pertains to the 2020 election. I have a shocking interview. You're not going to want to miss it. That's what I'll be talking about today on Chat with Me, Linda B. All right, Warriors, you know what to do. Don't forget to give me that thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Select all notifications. Stick around to the very end. Let's go. All right, Warriors, I have a shocker of shockers interview. This is Tina Peters. And I mean, this is crazy. She is literally the very first election official in the United States convicted of criminal charges related to efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election, predicated on conspiracy theories regarding the legitimacy of Donald Trump's defeat. And I have here an actual interview in her home. This woman is wearing an ankle bracelet, guys. This is shocking. This is coming by way of another YouTuber, and I will leave you the original video in the description box below.
Okay, so we're here with Miss Tina Peters. I'm assuming that's not the new Apple ankle bracelet that you're wearing. What is that?
Well, that is an ankle monitor, right? Yeah. I call them all criminals. So when I refer to criminals, it's either the DA, the Colorado Attorney General, deputies that have been sworn in as prosecutors in my case. But this is separate from the trial we're going through. This was a alleged recording that I made in a courtroom and that I didn't make. And later on it was proved that there was never anything recorded. But nevertheless, I got found guilty.
So they said you were recording in the courtroom and you weren't. And so they slapped an ankle monitor on you to make you look like a criminal.
That's right.
So,
wow, that's crazy. Tell us what made you run for office originally. And for those who don't know your story, give us a little background or a little brief summary.
and what are these pictures around us?
Well, those are my son in Switzerland. He loved to jump off of anything high. Bridges, buildings, whatever. So that was in Switzerland. This is in Afghanistan. He was a Navy SEAL and was tragically killed. And then, I don't know if you can see that picture or not, but that is him wingsuiting and then parachuting. You see his fellow wingsuiter at -60 below in Aspen, Colorado. So, he was quite the adventure. He was also involved in anti-human trafficking and ended up surprisingly having a double parachute failure, which is you're almost more likely to win the lottery than to have a double parachute failure, especially with almost 1,000 jumps that he had.
So how did you go from being a Gold Star mom to say, hey, I want to run for office, I want to do something for my community, I want to give back? What happened?
Well, in 2016, I was diagnosed with lung cancer, and so that was a very dark period. And I asked God, I said, don't let me ever forget what that felt like, to be that low. So I really have a compassion for people that face death, and I wanted to make more. I wanted my life to mean more. I'd never been involved in politics. This is in 2016. I decided to go to just a volunteer meeting. I looked around. I was one of 8 people at a volunteer meeting. And I said, I thought people that were good at this stuff were taken care of, like politics.
So you were at a Joe Biden rally.
No.
8 people. I heard 8 people.
Yeah. No, this was a volunteer meeting for the GOP, and I realized that it's we the people. We have to
we have
all
to-
be involved, right?
So then you ran for office.
Well, I walked for Trump during that time, and walked door to door, fell in love with the people. I didn't care if they were Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated, what. I talked to everybody. I just said, how do you feel about the election? And I'd listen to them, and I fell in love with them, and I decided I wanted to serve. And so I ran for the hardest job in the county, which is I was the Mesa County clerk and recorder in charge of 5 divisions. Motor vehicle, they had 3.5-hour wait times. And I said, I can fix, as a business owner, I can fix that. I was a business owner for 32 years. My husband and I in a construction company. And I said, I can fix that. I never expected after the 2020 election where Trump won in our county, and I knew there were anomalies across the country, but I never thought they happened in my town. And so I believed I drank the Kool-Aid of the Colorado Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, and all the Colorado County Clerk Association directors whose wife has worked for Dominion for over 2 decades. I believe we were the gold standard until the April 6, 2021 election. And I pulled those election results and I said, there's no way these people won. So that's what started me down the path, and the people.
Let me just say that this woman, in my opinion, according to her, was really unjustly treated. You see, she's still wearing an ankle monitor, and President Trump is aware of her situation, and he's on it. Okay, this woman was doing her actual job, and for doing her job, she ends up like this, and they look at her and treat her as if she were a criminal for actually doing her job. I'm going to let you listen to more of it, but this is wild, and I wonder how many other Tina Peters are in the United States.
Really coming asking me questions and presenting me evidence and asking me to explain things. That's when I.
So now, as an elected official, you were elected by the people.
Right.
Now, tell us about the duty that you had to preserve the records.
Yes.
What kind of duty do you have as an election official?
So I'm independently elected. I don't by the people. I don't have a boss. And they elected me as the clerk and recorder, and as the name implies, I record everything. Have a recording department, I record things in Motor V, in elections, election records.
So you had the number one
board.
authority for elections to record and to
Yes.
maintain the records of the elections.
That's right.
For how many months?
In Colorado, it's 25 months, and
That's actually higher than federal law.
Yes,
because
exactly.
It's 22 months.
Yes.
So the state actually thought it was more important to have it for 25 months.
Yes.
So what's going on now? You did your job. Actually, just walk us through that. You engaged in trying to preserve records that you felt were about to be deleted by Dominion.
Yes.
Can
Now,
you tell?
in fact, were they proven to be deleted?
Yes, they were.
So the Dominion actually came in and deleted records, and thanks to your preservation, they were not completely gone.
Well, so Dominion oversaw what they called a trusted build, but it was actually the Secretary of State with Dominion looking on, following Dominion instructions that they actually wiped the system. The significance of that is when I say they, I mean the Secretary of State and Dominion, say to back up your election records, but that's the election project. That's the total of the election. That's not what the law requires. 20.19.2, 1 and 2 say that first it says that the election machines cannot connect to the internet nor have the capability to. And now even John Paulos has been, has lied under oath, right, saying that they weren't designed to be connected to the internet and weren't connected to the internet, and now we've proven that they are. As a matter of fact, now they're saying, well, but it's the clerk's job to make sure they're not connected. Well, no, I was never taught how
They
to
never told you,
make
they never
sure.
came and said, hey, our machines could connect. You got to push
Yeah.
this to turn it off.
That's bizarre.
The other thing, the other part of that statute, of that election rule says that in addition to audit log files, access log files must be preserved. And that shows who went in and out of the system, what they did, what functions they performed. So the access, the audit, and the adjudication files were totally deleted,
So
wiped
we're
out.
never going to know.
Wiped out. Well, you preserve them. Since
Yeah,
you preserve
exactly.
them, we would never have known. They would have been gone forever.
So,
if you didn't
so we
preserve
were
them.
in court today, and if I'm understanding correctly, one piece of evidence they're using against you to go after you is part of the log files or the access files that you preserved. Because looking at the picture of the machines after their update,
Right.
they didn't have that information. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is what came out in court today. So they would not have had any way to know who was in the system.
Without your evidence. So they're using the evidence that they
That's right.
destroyed,
That's
you
right.
preserved, and because you preserved it, they're taking it and turning it against you.
Right. So it was interesting that the indictment, the 10-count indictment, they never let us come in, give our side of the story. We asked several times, and they never would let us present the other side. So it was just the prosecution that presented their side, and they carefully orchestrated this 10-count indictment, 7 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, to purposely leave out anything having to do with election machines.
Huh? Why do you
any of
think you
that.
did that? Right? That's the $1 million question, right?
It was very carefully thought out.
It was very carefully crafted. So, if there was an actual criminal conspiracy here, now this is something very interesting because the judge made a ruling before the case. You have exculpatory, you believe is exculpatory evidence, and the judge says Dominion is not a defendant, and the Secretary of State is not a defendant. And he writes these words, even if there is a conspiracy. Now, I'm going to interpret that as criminal conspiracy going on here, and you did your duty as an elected official, elected by the people. You cannot introduce that as evidence in your trial. Now, that to me is shocking because that means if there was a criminal conspiracy here, bigger than Enron, FTX, Bernie Madoff, think of the biggest conspiracy that you could imagine.
Democrats taking Joe Biden out.
Yeah, something like that, right? That there could be such a massive criminal conspiracy going on here, and the hero who exposed it, the whistleblower essentially, is the one being prosecuted instead of looking at the real conspirators. To me, that is shocking. And if that's not a Brady violation, we're going to call that a Peters violation. We're going to have to introduce a new kind of violation for that.
Yeah, that's incredibly insane. So what has this done to your reputation? I mean, people voted for you in this county. They were excited to. You won, for sure, because they would never rig an election for you. But what has that done? What has this done to your reputation?
There's been over 700 above-the-fold front-page articles written by this political reporter, and I won't even say his name. You want me to say his name?
No, well, okay.
You want me to say his name?
Go for it.
Charles Ashby, old newsman is what his handle is, I guess, on Twitter or wherever he is. And over 700 above-the-fold colored front-page articles defaming me. Lying about me, tainting the jury pool. Actually, during this trial, he even followed the jurors down the stairwell and to talk to them. Wow. And the jury, we had people that actually saw the jury commissioner walk up to him and start yelling at him for doing that. So
you have a woke liberal reporter basically harassing jurors, and
yeah.
Did he get charged with contempt of court?
No, he was in court. He was in court today.
He was in court again?
Yeah, he'll be in there every day.
So imagine if we did that. We walked around.
Right. Right now, we need to call for an investigation into Dominion and Smartmatic and all of these. I mean, this needs to be first and foremost, because this is why we are in the situation we're in. This is why we have open borders. This is why we have fentanyl, a fentanyl problem. This is why we have human trafficking. This is why we have wars.
So
everywhere.
Everybody who's concerned about every problem, whatever their problems are, they
It
should
all
realize that
stems from here.
If you don't fix the root cause, it's called a root cause analysis, you'll
That's
never
right.
fix anything else.
Well, Tina, we really appreciate you for letting us into your house.
So in other words, this woman was prosecuted for actually doing her job, for preserving the voting records. They wanted to have them deleted, but she did her job. And gee, where have I heard this before, where someone lies on you, takes the jury pool, does all of that and all the smear campaigns with full color front page on the newspaper? Gee, where have I heard that before? You guys got to realize that everything that is put out in the news is not real. I didn't want to believe President Trump back in 2015 when he said fake news, but it is fake. This is a narrative they are trying to push. And a lot of times, innocent people are put behind bars to silence them. They don't want you to do the right thing. They want you to go along with the program, the agenda, the narrative. They want you to go along with what the evil powers that be want in the background. And so therefore, they get to control us with fake news. They tainting the jury pool, paying off judges. This is nothing new. Corroborate, getting all of these things put together to make it look like a particular person who they hate is guilty when the person is actually guilty of nothing. That is what they've been doing to President Trump ever since he came onto the scene when he rolled down that escalator in 2015. He doesn't go along with the narrative. He's not going to go along with the agenda, and they hate it, and they hate all of us. Guys, I'm going to leave you a link to Tina Peters' website where you can find out all the information, and you'll find this these content creators as well. I'll leave it in the description box below. Hopefully this was very helpful. One of you, I'm going to call your name out who is a subscriber. Iron Ear, thank you so much for this recommendation. I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like the video, comment, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Select the all notification bell. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America, and march on, warriors.